Hey there guys, welcome to Anthony Reviews, where Anthony reviews. And today, as you can see by the title of the video, we are going to be doing an figure collection video, but not just any figures, of course. We are looking at Nightwing specifically. Now, a little over 4 years ago, I had done a Nightwing figure collection, and of course, since then, I've gotten a few more Nightwings here and there. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the collection. First figure we are showing off is going to be the Hush Nightwing figure from DC Direct. This was originally released in that Hush line, as you can see clearly based off of the Jim Lee art style. It's got that 2000s Nightwing look with the sort of short, flippy hair. You know, you can see his bangs flipping off to the side. We still got the finger straps, not too different from a lot of modern Nightwing designs, but definitely a lot more simplified, I would argue. And I think this figure does a very nice job showing off the slender, very angular faces of Jim Lee. Obviously, Jim Lee on Batman is something that, especially nowadays, I would say it's hard to imagine Batman and Jim Lee not being together. But, you know, at the time, with the Hush storyline especially, very, very big deal. And so, of course, to have a Dick Grayson Nightwing in his classic black and blue outfit, very, very cool. So, good one to start off the collection with. Sticking in the world of the 2000s era, we have the Ed McGuinness Nightwing, once again also from DC Direct. Another figure that really does a good job replicating the artist sort of style of Nightwing here. Very similar suit. I mean, it's technically the same suit, but very, very different looking on this big, beefy style here. Obviously, DC Direct made a bunch of figures in this artist style. It's not my personal favorite sort of take on the character, but a lot of people appreciate it, and they made a Nightwing figure of it, so I felt the need to sort of get it here. A bit of an older figure, and once again, we're staying in the realm of the 2000s for right now, but we'll hop around. We'll go ahead and see what other Nightwings there are to be, because there's more than just this costume, I'll tell you that much. And of course, speaking of different suits, we do have the more disco-style Nightwing. This is from Funko. It's a sort of reaction. I assume it's in the reaction line. It's a little bit different from some of their other figures, obviously with the knees and elbows. This was part of a Teen Titans series that I believe may have also been in like subscription boxes, like a Funko or a Loot Crate or something along those lines. But obviously, with the Nightwing, I had to go ahead and get this one. Not a whole lot of Disco Nightwing figures out there, so it is nice to always get a new version of it. Obviously, a very different kind of take. We got more of this sort of golden feather design, which is interesting. I like that about it. It's kind of cool, but it still feels very, very Nightwing, which is appreciated. It's nice to have a little variety on the shelf when compared to the other figures. Let's go a little modern. We have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Nightwing. Now, of course, this is based on his sort of rebirth design. You can tell by a lot of the straps and the details on the legs here. We do have quite a few of the rebirth era Nightwing sort of looks that you'll see in figure form. This one is interesting, just because this is one of the earlier McFarlane toys for DC, so it definitely has a lot of detail. It's got some interesting proportions, to say the least. It does take some liberties. The Rebirth design didn't have those sort of indents, as you can see here on the logo. More of a previous sort of like 2000s era thing. But, I mean, it does look cool. This is a pretty cool Nightwing design. We've got some nice detailing everywhere. We've got a place to put the sticks, which is not always something included with Nightwing figures. Not every Nightwing figure has sort of a clip system or a plug system or anything like that. But in terms of a Nightwing, I think this is a pretty good look. Like, you get the idea. You've got the cool mask. You've got the black and blue suit. It's a good one. I think that if you're looking for a Nightwing, this is not a bad choice to have. Once again, jumping all over the timeline, we've got the Funko Pop Nightwing here. Much, much older, sort of both figure and design in terms of the modern era. You know, Funko Pops are a lot more detailed now. This is definitely in their era where they were still sort of keeping it very simple, keeping it very uniform, and they don't really do that too much, which I guess is both a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, these are very simple. These are very mass-produced-esque, but they did still feel like Funkos. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I see something that's meant to have a familiar feel and similar sort of uniform look branch out too much, it no longer feels like the thing. Like Lego. Sometimes you see a Lego and it no longer feels like a Lego, and I feel that way about some Funko Pops, but this one, being a very early on sort of Nightwing Funko, does still retain that original idea in regards to what a Funko Pop would look like. That being said, I don't really like Funko Pops, so this is, I believe, the only Nightwing one that we have. So get used to it. Going back to the Rebirth era, we do have the DC Essentials Nightwing here. This is, of course, from that line where a lot of the bodies were reused. Very obviously based off of sort of Jason Fabok, Fabic, how you pronounce his name, sort of art style. Very simple, especially when compared to the sort of McFarlane figure back there. But you still have details. You know, he's got the straps, and he's got, like, the blue, whatever these are. You know, I've never really understood what, just to put some color down there, I guess. But, you know, we've got the bird logo and everything. It's a very simple Nightwing design. I do like the face. I do like the hair. Like I said, very streamlined, very simple Nightwing. I'm not a huge fan of the Essentials figures. I think, ideally, you know, like, conceptually, it was a pretty good idea, you know, to have a competing sort of very articulated, you know, be easily made sort of character line for DC, but obviously didn't last super long. And I don't know, they just don't work in that same field as like Marvel Legends for me. But, you know, like I said, still a pretty decent representation of Nightwing. I got him in this sort of like, because he's got a bit of a smirk to him, gives him a little bit of a character. I like that about it. Now, going on to a line that predates Essentials is actually DC Icons. Now, this line, in comparison, I quite enjoyed. I think that they got a lot of things right. It's kind of weird because this line was criticized for being too small. Essentials is a little too large. What are you going to do? But I think this one, in terms of accessories and designs and the general sort of sculpting and everything, I don't know. Like, you've got a unique sort of sculpt with the logo here, and it's a nice metallic blue. Very similar sort of Hush design, obviously, with the sort of split hair with the floppy sort of bangs and everything. I like the you know, the character that comes with the way the fingers are holding the Eskrima stick and everything. I just think that this is a much better sort of all-around Nightwing figure than some of the other ones out there. Like, if you're not someone who cares about scale and just wants a good Nightwing figure at an affordable price, then, well, I don't know if it's affordable anymore, but at the time, this, I think, was a really good choice for a Nightwing. And I think it's underrated. I don't know. Granted, I don't know if people love this figure. If they don't, I'm just saying, in terms of circles, this is a top-tier Nightwing figure, in my opinion. Moving back into the world of both smaller figures and McFarlane toys, we do have the DC Superpowers Nightwing figure. This one is kind of interesting because it does feel a little bit like a hodgepodge. It is clearly meant to be the Hush Nightwing design. You know, there's no bird head. It's got the little indents on top. It's got the finger stripes, just black boots. Normal. Blue mask, debatable on whether or not he should have the blue mask in the Hush era. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But the hair is very Rebirth. It's very similar to the regular McFarlane figure. So I don't know if that necessarily feels accurate to the design, but as a figure, obviously he's very beefy. This is a very beefy Nightwing. This is a guy who, you know, bench presses the elephants at the circus. He doesn't just do the tightrope, but still, it's a good-looking Nightwing. It's very plain. It's very simple. They didn't go overboard with it, and I appreciate that just because it's Nightwing, and I like my Nightwings simple and clean. Sticking with the Jim Lee motif, we do have another DC Direct Hush Nightwing figure. If you look at it, you'll notice it's very similar to the one that we looked at first, but it's just a little bit different. Obviously, he has a more metallic blue paint. I believe this one came in a 3-pack. Who was in the 3-pack? Scarecrow and Poison Ivy, maybe? I don't remember. However, I do remember this Nightwing because I have it in my hand, and he looks good. He has the black mask, which I prefer. I think, you know, definitive. I'm going to say it right now. I think I prefer the black mask over the blue sort of mask. I think it just gives a cleaner look, and it's still a really good looking figure. It's the same as the other figure that we saw once again, this time in more of a shiny blue and no highlights in the hair. And this one does have his Eskrima sticks. Not a lot of posing you can do with it. The DC Directs are not known for their articulation, but he can hold them. So there's that aspect to it, I guess. Switching over to the world of Mattel, we do have the Batman Missions Nightwing. Now, Batman Missions was sort of a kid's line in a 6-inch-ish scale, I want to say, and just sort of generalized designs, pulling heavy inspiration from the Rebirth looks, as you can kind of see here with the blue sort of bird logo and once again, these weird blue straps on the legs. But it's got sort of a tactical look, a little Arkham inspired a little bit. But, I mean, he's pretty simple. He's got the swooshed hair. He does have sticks on the back that plug in. Rare example where they don't clip, like there's no like sort of hook for them. They actually have pegs that go right into his back. So that's neat. I mean, it's a very basic, simple figure. You know, it's got no out, but it can move its legs and its elbows and all that stuff. So a very, very nice sort of, if you want to get a kid a Nightwing figure. He still looks good. He can still get into some fun action for your play, but you know, it's definitely a kid's toy, no questions asked. We do have another Disco Nightwing, this one being from DC Direct. Look at this guy. Look how happy he is to debut his new costume in front of the Teen Titans. Wow, I love the metallic sort of blue versus the more, you know, sort of matte sky blue of the outfit here. I think it makes it stand out. I love his expression. He's just happy to be here. This is kind of the only pose that you can get him in, but you know, he still feels like Nightwing. He's got some highlights in the hair, sort of swooshed to the other side. I guess Dick Grayson can part his hair in any way that he wants based off of these figures, but we need more Disco Nightwing. That is my stance as of right now. And this is his weird stance that he's doing. But he's happy about it. You gotta admit that. The dude's happy. This one's not really a figure, but I figured I'd bring him in. This is a sort of figurine that came with, I believe, the DC animated movie Bad Blood? Batman Bad Blood? Which, ironically, is when Batman goes missing and Dick Grayson has to become Batman for a short period of time. So that's based on this design, and we'll look at another figure that uses that same design, kinda. But he's just a little plastic sort of figure. He's nothing special, but I wanted to go ahead and show him. He's, yeah, here he is. Changing gears once again. Now we have this sort of 90s Nightwing here. This is an interesting one. So this is from the Legends of the Dark Knight line, I believe. You know, this is clearly a Nightwing action figure. You know, this is not a collectible by any means. This is a Nightwing based on his very brief suit that he wore sort of post-disco and then pre the one that we all know and love from the Chuck Dixon era going on into the 2000s and everything. So this one is blue. I believe he wore a suit like this in Nightfall. The difference is that his hair is very, very long. And the color of his skin, I like to call this Native American Nightwing. You know, he's got sort of the feathers sort of motif. He's got very dark skin compared to the other Nightwings. And I don't know, he looks cool. I like it. I wish they made more figures. And I think there is a McFarlane figure on the way in both the Superpowers line and the DC Multiverse line. So this guy will not be alone for much longer. I know there's a DC Direct. I don't have it. But like, yeah, like this piece, like that's removable. Why would you want that? And then as you can see, he's got kind of even, well, he's got a gun. It shoots. I'm not going to shoot it. I'm just letting you know he has it. Okay, now we have a classic, a DC Universe classic to be specific. So this is another Mattel figure. This, of course, is DC Universe Classic Nightwing, I believe from Wave 3, which is a great wave. It's got like Nightwing, Robin, Deathstroke, Green Lantern, Sinestro, and the Build-A-Figure was, I think, Solomon Grundy. So like, top tier wave, probably the best you can ever ask for. And this guy's great. Like, he's got such really nice blue sort of stripes and everything. Once again, taking from the 90s into the 2000s suit here. Not specifically Hush, but you know, that suit. You can really tell it's the sort of 90s because he has this sort of like big arm pouches, which I think is a cool detail. I love the idea of having, instead of having a belt, he has like these pouches that have all this sort of tools and everything in. So like, this guy is great. Like, I love it. I love the face sculpt. I love the hair detail and everything. Like, this guy is awesome. He will always be a favorite of mine. So yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about how much I love the figure. I can't really say much else then. It's great. It's awesome. He's got some clips on the back there for the skirmish sticks. Once again, not everybody does that. Let's do another McFarlane, shall we? This one is fairly recent. It is based off of the Gotham Knights video game, a game that I have honestly never played. But once again, Nightwing in the game, got a figure, so I had to go and purchase this. This is not a bad design. Is it my favorite Nightwing design? No, of course not. But, you know, in terms of a tactical Nightwing design, it's not too bad. You know, he's got like white soles, or I guess just a trim. The sole's not white, but kind of interesting detail. Nice big blue logo. You know, he's got all the details there. The face sculpt isn't too bad. It's a bit thick, but hey, you know, that's fine. Yeah, like he looks like Nightwing. He feels like Nightwing. It's just sort of like a decent Nightwing. And that goes for the figure too. I don't think this is by any means a bad figure. I think it's just okay. And I guess that's fine, you know? Just like Gotham Knights, it's like, there's worse things out there in terms of Batman and the DC universe, so I can't be too mad at it, but I got it. So this, I believe, was the sort of first representation of the new 52 red Nightwing suit. Now, you know, Nightwing's had red suits before. He had it in his run where he was training with Ravager, you know, from Deathstroke's daughter. And, you know, the Batman and Robin suit is basically Nightwing with a red logo. Very similar to this literal design that I'm holding in my hand. But this right here is the Greg Capullo sort of designed new 52 era Nightwing suit. He's got the sort of like gauntlets with the sort of the lines in them, I guess. He's got this red logo and everything. He's got normal domino mask, short hair, a pretty decent design. They would make a few more red Nightwings that we'll take a look at. This one's pretty good. Obviously, he's very bulky, and that sort of goes with the Capullo-ness of the figure. So I always do appreciate when places like DC Collectibles like this figure, formerly DC Direct, and then later DC Direct again. And then eventually McFarlane will also try to adapt art style sometimes. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that I can look at this figure and know exactly what it's supposed to be and who it's supposed to be by. But, you know, a red Nightwing figure, not ideal. Obviously, I prefer the blue, but the red and black, it's not a bad look by any means. Another new 52 Nightwing from the same era, it is the DC Collectibles Nightwing. This was much more of a standard Nightwing to go with your other DC Collectibles new 52 figures. I say that though, and I can still pinpoint what this is based on. This is clearly the Brett Booth Nightwing from the later half of the Nightwing New 52 run before it became Grayson and everything like that. So yeah, just they added a bit more. They made an attempt to bring back the finger stripes. They added a little bit more detail here and there. As you can see, it's different. You know, it's not a one-to-one with the previous New 52 look. He's got like red circles around his eyes. Once again, Nightwing just parting his hair whichever way he wants. Does not really matter. And yeah, I mean, this is fine. I think it's a bit busy. I think it's a bit much. There's just way more lines and panels and ribbing on the suit, and yeah, I don't know. And I'm just not the biggest fan of Brett Booth's art. That's just me personally. But we do have this figure. He does have sticks. I don't know where they're at, so sorry. But here's Nightwing. He's here. Still sticking with the red theme, we have the DC Essentials Nightwing in the red this time. Now, this is pretty much entirely a reuse of the Essentials figure we looked at earlier. You know, they took the same body, the same head, everything. But the glossy paint, the big red logo, everything about that, I don't know. I think I much prefer this one over the other Essentials figure, and I think it's my favorite red Nightwing figure. This just really reminds me of when the New 52 first started. The art in that first arc really does resonate with this design here. It's a bit more vague, because like I said, the previous one felt very much designed after Jason Fabok. I'm never going to get that right. I apologize, sir. I really love your art. I really do. 3 Jokers, gorgeous. But this one, even though it uses that and combines it with other things, and it doesn't get all the details right, it's not a one-to-one with New 52 Nightwing, but I think it represents it really well. I think that glossy black just does a lot for the figure. I think it does. I don't know. And like they got the gray soles on the boots and everything. just, yeah, out of the essentials, out of the Nightwing red suits, this one is my personal favorite for sure. Last red Nightwing that I have is from the DC Multiverse line here. Now, this was in a 2-pack with Red Hood and was a simple repaint. That's all it really is. He's got red instead of instead of blue, so really not accurate to the design whatsoever. You know, this is not the New 52 suit in any shape or form. It even adds the red bits that are exclusive to the Rebirth design. Yeah, this is fine. I have no problem with this as a figure, but of course, out of the New 52 ones, it's definitely I don't know. It's an attempt. Is it an attempt? Not really, because it was just a repaint of a very, very different design. You know, it'd be like any of those ones where if you just took that design and painted it the wrong color, that doesn't make anything right. But it is a red Rebirth design, and I guess in that way, that's kind of cool. You know, does that count for anything? I don't know. Oh, and I guess there is technically one more, and that is Lego Nightwing here. And he's a knockoff, so he really doesn't matter. All right, remember that little figurine from the DVD set? Well, here is the figure that shares a very similar design to it. So this is the Nightwing from, I want to say, Batman and Son, which was the first of that universe's Batman movies where, you know, Damian first shows up. So this Nightwing here, it's a very basic body with mostly paint on it. It's not a lot of, like, sculpted detail. It's not a bad design. They go for a gray suit as opposed to a black suit, which is interesting. I know a lot of people had sort of got this because it's very similar to the Young Justice design, which at the time was very popular. I like the performance. Sean Mayer as Nightwing was a fairly decent choice. I don't like those movies. This figure is fine, I guess. It's got a little bit of like a lean forward. The logo is a little bit weird. Like the bird head, it's like small and pointed up kind of. I don't know. It's fine. If this was the only Nightwing figure in my collection, I know I would start looking for alternatives fairly quickly. I think I'm going to have to zoom out here pretty soon. But for now, let's take one last look at Disco Nightwing with the Dorbs. Once again from Funko, Dorbs Nightwing. This came in a 2-pack, I want to say, with Deathstroke. Because, you know, Nightwing, Deathstroke, you know, they're kind of a thing. And it's just another type of little Funko collectible thing. I don't know. Once again, I don't really like stuff like this. I like toys, you know, like action figures meant for 10-year-olds, but these like little desk knickknacks I'm not a fan of. But once again, Disco Nightwing, so it's cool to get. He looks fine. It's a little plump, I guess, but he's supposed to be, right? We've got another Nightwing from Mattel here. This one is a bit older. This is actually from 2003, I want to say. This is from just a Batman line. Before there was like DC Universe Classics and DC Multiverse and even DC Superheroes, there was just Batman. And so they released kind of 6-inch scale-ish figures for Batman and a lot of his rogues and Nightwing, obviously Nightwing. He has some massive sticks here. We're still basing it off of that early sort of 2000s, late 90s design, which is cool. He's very limited, but he's also very lean. I kind of like that. I like that he's not like a big, bulky monster like some of these guys. Little bit of a melty face here and some interesting hair choice. Very, swooshy. But yeah, I like it. It's got some nice detail with all the wrinkles on the suit. He looks good. So, happy with that for it being a very simple Nightwing figure. Last one from Mattel here is the DC Multiverse Nightwing. This is sort of from their later years of working with the DC brand. So it's based off of that Rebirth design, which of course is what all these other figures end up using at a later point. You can once again see the straps on the arms. It's got those leg things. Would love to talk to the artist that designed that and explain what that is. A little bit of highlights in the hair, maybe too much. I don't know, is there such a thing as too many highlights? Yeah, it's right here. But overall, it's a good looking figure. The symbol's a little thick. I feel like I would appreciate if it was a bit thinner, like some of the other figures back there. But overall, he comes with sticks. He does not come with a place to put them, but he's still a fairly nice, articulated Nightwing that is perfectly fine for your Nightwing collection if that's what you so desire. Let's move into the Arkhamverse, which was not planned in any way, but I've got some figures left and they're Arkham themed, so we're just going to run through them. So here we have Arkham City Nightwing, which is, you know, a pretty standard Nightwing design. Once again, I keep saying it, but we're taking inspiration from that 90s era, sort of 2000s Nightwing suit. Very simple, just a bodysuit with the blue going down the arms. It does kind of feel like you ran this through like a cosplay sort of machine, I guess, if you will, or tried to make it tactical, but still very, you know, superhero-esque. But, you know, a lot of the Arkham designs kind of feel that way, especially Batman. Like, he's very comic booky, but it's still like Kevlar and, you know, it's all bolted together and you know, that's really it. The face is a bit weird. Not saying I'm a fan of the face, but design-wise, I think it's pretty good. So, there's that. And this is the game that introduced his Scrimmastics having like an electric ability, which still seems to show up to this day, which is impressive. Then to go along with that one, we have the same figure, but in different paint. So instead of the sort of darker metallic blue, which is accurate to the game, we have this sort of lighter blue, which I guess is just a thing to do with a Nightwing figure. If you're DC Direct or DC Collectibles or whoever, take your Nightwing figure, and if you made it one blue, make it a different blue. And that's what they did here. So once again, same shtick with the design. It's the exact same figure. Like, we just looked at it. So not a whole lot to go off of here other than it's the same figure. He looks exactly the same, except slightly different. If you want a more comic booky Nightwing, I guess, then here you go. And of course, the last of the Arkham series comes the Arkham Nightwing, which is definitely a departure from the previous designs, 100%. This one, the Arkham Knight game seriously goes overboard with these sort of tactical, real-world applications of the suit. Everything is panels. It's like, I don't know, it's a bit much. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of Arkham Knight. I think as a game, looks gorgeous. There's some good designs in it. But in terms of what it did to the sort of art style, I feel like it made it a bit more realistic, and then it really just overdid a lot with the hero designs. The Batman, the Batgirl, the Nightwing, everyone just is a bit busy. You know, there's just so many like straps. Like, what is going on down here? He's got like straps on his boots, and then he's just like he's got blue, but it's almost just feels like arbitrary. That it's like, oh well, we have to put blue on there, so there's some blue there on his wrist, and I don't know. It's not very superhero-y. His mask is very strange. It takes up a whole part of his face. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow. Weird choices, but he's really articulated, so that's nice. Coming up towards the end here, we do have the DC Collectibles Batman New Adventures, the new Batman Adventures, Batman's Adventures that are new, Batman the Animated Series, Nightwing. So, of course, a fully articulated look at the Bruce Timm Nightwing design. Interesting, right? Like, he's got the mullet. He's got sort of a mask that's way more similar to, like, Green Lantern. Hal Jordan, Alan Scott, you take your pick. A not very Nightwing design, which is interesting. And then, of course, the bird logo, which would go on to sort of inspire the rest of Nightwing to this very day. You know, like, the comics didn't have this, like, big bird head and the sort of feather bits and everything. It didn't have that. And now that's most designs, which is interesting. And other than that, he's just a black bodysuit. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to have this figure. I'm not a huge fan of these sort of adaptations from the Timm style to 3D. I don't feel like it always works necessarily, but I mean, it still looks good. Good luck standing him on these tiny feet, though. That's always a nightmare. And to finish this video off on a little bit of a sentimental note, this here is a new Batman Adventures Nightwing from 1998. This is my childhood Nightwing figure. It's a very bizarre choice with this sort of bronzy color for the top half, and then the logo is black. Not really sure what they were going for here, but obviously for me it holds sentiment value just because this is my Nightwing. Like, this was my Nightwing figure since I was a wee little boy. I was 3 years old when I had gotten this figure. And I had a lot of figures from around that time period. A lot of new Batman adventures, a lot of Batman and Robin. So Robin, Nightwing, the Dick Grayson character was a big part of me growing up as a Batman fan. And as you can see from this figure and all the figures behind him, that never really left me. Dick Grayson is one of my all-time favorite characters. I think he's one of the more interesting aspects of the DC Universe, this idea that the DC Universe grows and changes. He's almost as old as Batman himself. He's one of the oldest characters in the DC Universe, so it's cool to see him really kind of change and evolve with the times. And yeah, nothing really demonstrates that more than this very early Nightwing figure. That's a recolor of an already made Nightwing figure. They probably released a normal one, and then we got this. But it's my Nightwing figure, and that's really what matters for that. This video is brought to you in part by Hobby Link Japan. If you're a fan of things like Super Sentai or just Japanese media in general, why don't you check out Hobby Link Japan? They've got figures, statues, and a whole horde of different kind of collectibles. Click the link down in the description below to check out Hobby Link Japan today. And here you guys go. Here is my entire Nightwing collection. Now, obviously, I have some Dick Grayson Robin figures. I have one Dick Grayson Batman figure, but I wanted to focus on Nightwing. That is sort of the biggest chunk of his modern day history at this point. He's been Nightwing since the 80s. So it's been a while, It's been nearly 40 years of Nightwing, which is crazy. Like I said, to think of this character that sort of changed so much over the years, and now see here, this is not even every Nightwing figure. There are so many Nightwing figures that I don't have. New ones, old ones, you name it. But for what I do have, I'm pretty happy with it. And I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at these figures with me. If you did enjoy, please let me know down in the comments below. Feel free to like the video, subscribe for some other content. I've got action figure videos and collections and reviews and unboxings and all sorts of stuff. So if you enjoyed this, feel free to check out those other videos. I am on @AnthonyLantern on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, if you will. That's really it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.